3 a.m. in the woods, the shocking truth of a soldier's last breath. You won't believe what happened. The clock struck 3, dead of night. Shadows danced in the woods, whispering secrets only the trees could hear. It was silent, eerie, so, like the calm before a storm. But in that silence, something stirred. Eyes that glowed with an unnatural light watched from the depths, and the air was thick with a smell of dirt and something else, something metallic. Nate had been there, but something twisted had crossed his path, something that twisted his heart and stole away his reason. As Nate stumbled through the underbrush, the branches clawed at his clothes, baring their jagged teeth. His breaths came sharply, fear stabbed at his chest. He swore he heard footsteps behind him, swift, close, and breathing heavy. This wasn't just a midnight jog, this felt like something hunted. The full moon cast a ghostly glow that illuminated his sweat-drenched face, highlighting the terror written all over it. He didn't just feel pursued, he felt marked. Then, without warning, he slipped on something slick, a pool of dark liquid reflecting the moonlight just right. His mind raced. Was it blood? It felt wrong, too wrong. Shivers ran up his spine, as nothing in these woods should be been here, nothing human. A chill snagged his breath, legends swirled in the back of his thoughts, tales of soldiers lost, never found, spoken in whispers around campfires. How did he even end up here? The memories were fuzzy, like a kaleidoscope of confusion and fear. An ordinary night had twisted into this nightmare. He gripped his phone tighter, its screen illuminating his frantic face like some portal to safety. But service? It was dead. Just like he felt inside as he realized he was utterly alone. Suddenly, a figure appeared amongst the trees, silhouetted against the mottled bark. Heart racing, Nate squinted. It was a soldier, face etched with desperation. But there was something grotesque about the way he moved, like he wasn't fully right. A guttural whisper broke through the tension, "Help me." It was a cry laced with urgency and terror that ignited a spark of empathy. Nate took a step forward, but doubt knotted his gut. What lay beneath this soldier's skin? What happened here? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Nate felt a shiver creep back up his spine. Should he trust this soldier? Or would he be dragged deeper into whatever chaos lurked in these woods? The soldier's eyes locked on him, pleading yet somehow filled with an unsettling knowledge. Would he take the plunge, step off the edge of safety, or would he flee, abandoning the secrets and the questions that threatened to swallow him whole? As the night deepened, he realized he had a choice that could change everything, for him and for the soldier. Nate hesitated, his heart hammering in his chest. The soldier's face, illuminated by moonlight, painted a picture of despair that tugged at Nate's soul. There was a plea in those eyes, one that demanded action. What had this man seen? What unspeakable horrors lurked in these woods that drove him to this point? Who are you? Nate managed to utter, his voice shaking. The soldier's lips moved, but no sound came. He stumbled a step forward, pain etched across his features. The anguish in his eyes was unmistakable, yet it was mixed with something darker, an urgency that felt wrong, like a trap waiting to snap. Nate took another cautious step, looking for signs of life beyond this man who seemed engulfed in a shadow. What happened? His breath caught. The soldier's hand shot out, trembling, and Nate flinched. Run! The word exploded like a gunshot in the silence, shattering the stillness of the night. Run! You don't understand, but his voice faltered, replaced by a raspy choke. Before he could process it all, the thick underbrush behind him rustled violently, breaking his trance. The glow of monstrous eyes flickered among the trees, their brightness intensifying the unmistakable gaze of something hunting. Nate's instincts kicked in. He couldn't be here, not with whatever those eyes belonged to lurking nearby. In an instant, he turned, nearly losing his footing as he sprinted into the thick trees, branches snapping underfoot. He cast a glance back to the soldier, who was against all reason still standing there, staring into the shadows as if transfixed. "Come on!" Nate screamed, his voice choked with raw fear, but the soldier remained, paralyzed. Suddenly, an unearthly roar echoed through the trees, shaking Nate to his core. It was deeper than anything he'd ever heard, reverberating through him, a sinister and bone-chilling sound. He didn't take time to think, he bolted, weaving through forked branches and the veil of darkness that wrapped around him like a suffocating cloak. As he ran, the world became a blur, sounds mingling with heartbeats, fear drumming a relentless rhythm in his ears. Memories flashed in his mind, a collage of laughter, warmth, summer nights, bonfires with friends, but they all faded into echoes of time. The clammy tendrils of panic wrapped tighter around his mind. Whatever was behind him was near. "What's happening?" he murmured to himself, breath ragged. "What is this place?" Then came a jarring realization. He had left the soldier behind. The thought twisted his gut. That man was in trouble, maybe worse than he could imagine. Part of him wanted to turn back to save him. But the other part screamed for survival, silencing reason with the primal urge to escape. Nate stumbled to a halt, torn between two worlds, self-preservation and compassion. A shriek splintered the night, piercing through the leaves like shrapnel, and Nate's body froze. Bracing himself for whatever emerged from the shadows, he glanced over his shoulder. And what he saw made his blood run cold. It wasn't the soldier anymore that he feared. No, that was something else entirely. Nate's breath hitched as he squinted into the darkness. The shadows shifted, revealing not just eyes, but forms. They shaded into existence, grotesque and twisted, with limbs that protruded at unnatural angles. A low growl emanated from their throats, vibrating deep in the earth. Just as he turned, fighting against the instinct to run, a frail voice echoed from the darkness. "Why did you leave him?" Nate's heart crashed into his stomach. Who spoke? Was it the soldier? But what if it wasn't he? Panic and doubt clashed in his mind, his pulse raced with the looming threat. As frozen terror gripped him, two options stood before him, a deafening choice weighed in his chest. Would he face the darkness, or flee into the unknown? What waited for him on this treacherous path? The secrets, the betrayals, the haunting truth? Would he confront the soldier's fate, or would he abandon it all in the chase for his own survival? The shadows moved closer, and the darkness replied. Nate's instincts screamed at him to run, but the voice from the shadows pierced through his confusion like a knife. "Why did you leave him?" It echoed, laced with sadness and accusation. He felt the weight of the question hang thick in the air, pressing on his chest like a brick. He turned slowly, trembling with fear, and saw movement in the dark, shapes that breathed and writhed like smoke. This was no sanctuary, no safety within the trees. The forms shifted closer, revealing sharp claws and contorted faces, grinning in a way that sent ice through his veins. "Run!" The soldier's desperate command replayed in his mind, mingling with the apparition's words. The choice wasn't just about him anymore, it was about them. It was life or death. Would he abandon the man who had called for help? "Who are you?" Nate shouted, his voice barely above a whisper, lost among the cacophony of distant howls. But as soon as the words left his mouth, the shapes stilled, as if the question had stopped time itself. They loomed but made no move forward, like specters caught in a moment of indecision. "Leave while you can," the voice breathed again, softer now, almost pained. It was neither the soldiers nor any creatures he recognized. It resonated with a haunting familiarity, like a long-forgotten memory trying to claw its way back to the surface. Feeling a surge of reckless courage, Nate called out again, "What do you want from me?" The moment left him exposed, his heart pounding louder than the dark growls at the edges of the woods. From the center of the gathering shadows, a form stepped out, slightly taller than the others, with an eerie clarity that made Nate's breath catch. It had eyes that glinted with a strange light, condemned yet yearning. "We are bound to this place. Cursed, like him," it said, gesturing vaguely back toward the direction Nate had fled. Nate's mind raced. The soldier. What did that mean? He knew he had to think fast. "I can help him. Just tell me how." His voice cracked, desperation creeping through the cracks in his bravado. "What of your own life?" The figure cocked its head, curiosity painted on its twisted features. It stepped closer, and Nate could almost make out its face, a malformed version of someone he might know, twisted by grief. The realization tugged at him, intertwining fear with a sense of uneasy recognition. I'll escape. I swear." He stuttered, feeling sweat bead on his brow. Whatever this creature was, it had read the truth beneath his bravado. He felt exposed, as if the trees themselves were listening, but the figure merely shook its head. "You cannot leave this place without facing the horrors here. Unravel the truth, or sacrifice him to the darkness. The choice lies with you." With that, it vanished into the shadows, leaving Nate alone to grapple with the ghostly sounds that echoed off the trees. The growling intensified, snapping Nate back to reality. Time was running out. He could feel the malevolent presence creeping closer and knew he had little time to act. Heart racing, he turned back toward the direction the soldier had been, determination igniting within him. "Please, I won't leave you behind." He shouted into the darkness, his voice quaking with urgency. But silence answered him, thick and suffocating. Had he been a fool to come back? Just as he took a step forward, the ground beneath him shifted, roots and vines tightening like a noose. Panic surged, he was caught. Was it the forest or something darker that sought to hold him there? From the depths of the night came a chorus of anguished cries, twisting through the air and grabbing at Nate's legs like quicksand. The shadows waxed and waned, and he felt despair creeping in as he tried to fight his way free. "Help me." A voice pleaded, one he didn't recognize. His heart sank. Who was that? What had he stumbled into deep within these cursed woods? Nate pulled against the earthy grip, desperation burning. Would he find the soldier? Or was he doomed to become part of a tale lost in the whispers of the trees? As the forest closed in around him, Nate felt the weight of his choice settle deeper: fear or flight, truth or sacrifice. The shadows, infectious as they were, began to howl again, swelling with anticipation. And through their cries, he heard the faint echo of a warning. The darkness hungers what awaited him at the heart of this nightmare. Would he unearth the truth, or would the darkness claim him as its own? Nate's breaths came in ragged gasps as he pulled against the treacherous embrace of the roots. Each tug felt like a futile battle against the very earth itself, the darkness claiming him inch by inch. Panic flooded through him, sharp and biting, a wild animal clawing to break free. "Help!" He shouted again, but his voice echoed back distorted, swallowed by the night. The forest felt alive, no longer merely a backdrop but a predator, hungry for his fear. On the periphery, silhouettes lurked, shifting with anticipation, silently awaiting his collapse. A cold sweat coated his skin as he glanced back toward the shadows. Only moments ago, he had heard a voice pleading for aid, but he couldn't let confusion distract him. The soldier. The thought ignited a flame of urgency within him. He had to find the soldier, had to face whatever horrors lay ahead to reclaim what he had almost abandoned. With a final surge, Nate pushed against the earth one last time. A violent burst freed him, and he stumbled forward, heart racing. But the moment of liberation was short-lived as a deep growl rumbled through the underbrush. Something hungry was pursuing him, driven by the cries of the darkness. "No time to waste," he muttered under his breath, forcing himself to move. Each step felt weighted with foreboding, each crack of a twig beneath his feet echoing like a gunshot in the silence. Fear coursed through him, matching the frantic pace of his heartbeat. His ears twitched, catching glimpses of soft whispers, half-formed words that slipped through the atmosphere like smoke. Not their fault, leave it here. What did they mean? Were these remnants of lost souls caught in the pull of the shadows? Nate pressed on, struggling through the thick undergrowth, each breath feeling heavier than the last. He could feel the weight of eyes on him, those twisted shapes still yearning just out of sight, whispering secrets he dared not understand. Then he saw it, a flicker of light ahead, a stark contrast against the oppressive darkness. Hope, raw and fragile, blossomed in his chest. Was that where the soldier lay? As he approached, the light intensified, transforming into a pulsing sphere that floated in the air. The colors twisted and morphed, casting ghostly shadows on the trees. Nate halted, hesitating. Was this the salvation he sought, or another trap crafted by the creatures of the darkness? A figure emerged from the glow, and Nate's breath caught as recognition washed over him. It was the soldier, crumpled but alive, his body drenched in dirt and blood, eyes clouded but frantic with a glimmer of awareness. "Nate! Help me!" The soldier cried, his voice hoarse and edged with pain. "What happened?" Nate asked, rushing to his side. The soldier's strength seemed to falter, and he sagged against the trunk of a tree. "There's no time, they will come for you, we must leave." Panic rippled through the soldier's words, and Nate's heart sank. "Who?" Nate fumbled for answers, desperate not to repeat past mistakes. But the soldier merely shook his head, grimacing. "They're here." Nate felt it, a shift in the air, a bomb of darkness gliding closer, pressing against his skin. The forest began to thrum, as if it were alive, awakening from a deep slumber, hungry for what lay before it. Behind him, the shadows contorted, forming shapes that reached toward them with grasping tendrils. The soldier's expression grew more frantic. "Stand back. Don't let them take you." Nate felt the ground tremble beneath him. Was this what the figure meant by facing the horrors? To choose between fleeing and confronting the nightmares that sought them both? Before he could respond, a bone-chilling shriek split the air, echoing in waves of terror that enveloped them. "What did you bring back?" The eerie question slithered through the air, wrapping around Nate's throat like a choking vine, suffocating but familiar. As more shadows emerged, something deep within Nate ignited. The time for choices was now. "Whatever it takes," Nate whispered, stepping towards the light. But would he save them both, or unleash the darkness for himself? Suddenly, a collective howl erupted, reverberating across the trees. The shadows lunged, and the vibrations of the night began to throb violently. In that moment, Nate realized the truth that lay ahead was worse than he could have imagined. Was he strong enough to confront the darkness? Or would he and the soldier become part of its insatiable hunger forever? The shadows lunged forward, a mass of writhing darkness eager to swallow them whole. Nate's heart thundered in his chest as he felt the weight of despair pressing down on him. The soldier beside him braced himself, eyes wide with terror. "Now, Nate. We need to run." Nate's instincts kicked in, and he grabbed the soldier's arm, hauling him to his feet. They stumbled awkwardly, the soldier leaning heavily against him, but Nate pushed forward. Every second counted. The howls grew closer, a haunting chorus that promised suffering. "Where?" he gasped, breathless with fear and exertion, glancing around the forest that now loomed like a labyrinth. Trees twisted overhead, their branches scratching at the sky as if pleading for escape. "Towards the creek. Keep moving." The soldier's urgency ignited a fleeting ember of hope in Nate. They plunged into the darkness together, weaving between trees, the pulsing light growing dimmer behind them, consumed by the night. Nate could feel the shadows chasing them, claws reaching out just behind him, tauntingly close. The forest seemed to conspire with their pursuers, roots and branches snagging at their legs, dragging them back into the depths. "Don't look back," the soldier shouted, but Nate couldn't help it. The moment he glanced over his shoulder, a wave of dread twisted in his gut. Against the creeping blackness, shapes emerged, twisted figures with elongated limbs and sunken eyes, mouths gaping wide but soundless, their hunger palpable. Something choked in Nate's throat, a reminder of all he had fought against. Faster! The soldier tugged on his arm, breaking the paralysis that threatened to claim him. They burst through the underbrush and into a clearing, the moon casting pale light on the water of the creek ahead, shimmering like a beacon of hope, but in that brief moment of promise, the shadows surged forward. They were quicker than he could have imagined, filling the clearing like an unending tide. No! Nate screamed, panic squeezing tight around his chest. Trust the water. The soldier stumbled to the edge, collapsing onto his knees, splashing the cool liquid. We can't let them catch us. Nate didn't understand. What does that even mean? But the urgency in the soldier's eyes pushed him forward. There was no time for questions. He leapt into the water, the icy shock jolting him to attention. The creek swirled around his waist, tugging at him with a force that felt both threatening and liberating. Hold on to me! Nate shouted as he helped the soldier into the water, allowing the current to pull them downstream. The swirling darkness at the edge of the creek seemed to hesitate, as if the water held some sway over its power. Keep going. Just don't look back. The soldier urged, his voice strained but steady as they struggled together against the pull of the current, but the howls returned, a cacophony of rage that echoed in the night. The figures shifted and warped, reaching for them from the banks, their mouths screeching in defiance. Nate's heart raced. The river was their salvation, yes, but how long could it shield them from the insatiable hunger of the shadows? Do you think they can't cross the water? Nate shouted, fear inching its way back into his voice. The soldier's response was cut off by a sudden surge. A powerful wave crashed into them, forcing them under. Drowning in icy darkness, Nate's mind spiraled into chaos. He clawed his way back to the surface, gasping for air, but the shadows pressed down, wrapping around him with chilling breaths. Just as the water enveloped him entirely, he caught a glimpse of something, an object glinting beneath the surface. Desperation surged anew. Nate! Hold on to me! He felt the soldier's grip tighten as they fought the current together. With newfound determination, he pulled toward the glimmer, the shadows dancing just out of reach, unwilling to let go. What lay beneath the water promised answers, and he had to know. Was this the key to their survival, or the catalyst for something far worse? Nate's lungs burned. The cold seeped deeper into his core, but he couldn't let go. What if his recklessness turned fatal? As hope flickered and darkness surged, Nate dove deeper, propelled by fear and the faint whisper of a last chance. Would he sink, or would he rise with the truth in hand? The shadows moved closer. Time was running out. Nate plunged into the icy water, the world around him rushing into a blur of bubbles and shadow. Cold seared through him, but he pushed forward, his fingers stretching toward the faint glimmer beneath the surface. An object. What was it? Hope mixed with dread. He had to find out. His lungs screamed for air. He fought against the heavy pull of the current and the enveloping shadows clawing at him. Instinct kicked in fight, swim anything to reach the unknown promise lying just beneath. There. He grasped the object, and the instant his fingers closed around it, a surge of energy hit him like a bolt of lightning. It was a small, silver locket. Nate could barely comprehend its significance. What was a locket doing here? It felt impossibly warm amidst the cold, and in that fleeting moment, it felt like a lifeline. Nate kicked upward, thrusting himself past the veil of darkness. Above him, the surface shimmered like a crack in reality, and he clawed his way toward it. Bursting through the water, he gasped, inhaling desperate breaths while the fierce current pushed him downstream. Nate! The soldier's voice splintered the chaos, cutting through his panic. He blinked away water, catching his companion's frantic gaze at the creek's edge. Throw it! Whatever you found, throw it! The shadows shrouded the water's edge, their forms swirling and morphed into grotesque shapes. Nate looked at the locket, heart pounding. If this was their hope, he couldn't wait. He lifted the locket, feeling immense gravity in the moment. What if this is a mistake? He whispered hoarsely, the doubt formidable. Do it. The soldier urged, his face set with determination. It can't be worse than them. With one final glance at the relentless shadows, Nate hurled the locket with all the strength he could muster, sending it arcing through the air. The locket struck the surface with an echoing splash. Time felt suspended as the world held its breath. A shudder ran through the creek, rippling outward from the point of impact as if awakening something dormant. The shadows recoiled, their forms losing cohesion as the water vibrated with an electric hum. A pulse of light emanated from where the locket landed, casting a gold sheen across the surface. Keep going. The soldier tugged him, and they struggled against the current. Just as the shadows began to splinter and retreat, a ear-piercing wail erupted from the depths. A creature, a massive black shape, surfaced momentarily, revealing a pair of sunken eyes. It thrashed, agitated by the locket's unearthly glow. What the hell is that? Nate's heart raced at the nightmarish sight. Just don't stop. The soldier shouted, yanking him away as they fought their way downstream. With each frantic stroke, Nate's mind raced. What had they awakened? Was it tied to the locket? He could feel the soldier's grip faltering, and in that chaos, he glanced over his shoulder once more. The locket pulsed violently, forcing the shadows back, but the creature remained, angry and alive, an embodiment of their traumas and fear. It didn't know that chains could be broken. It only sought to consume. This can't be happening, Nate breathed, dread sinking into his bones as they rounded a bend in the creek. The stillness behind them began to settle, but the echoes of the creature's screeches reverberated through the night. As they tumbled onto the bank, desperately gasping for air, Nate felt a foreboding weight in the air. Did they just trade one nightmare for another? Look out! The soldier screamed, yanking Nate forward just as something splashed into the water beside them, sending ripples sprawling. What was it now? Just as Nate turned, darkness loomed again, a powerful current creeping up from the edges of the forest, and a flicker of dread sparked in his chest. Had they really escaped? Or was this just the beginning of a more terrifying night? Nate could see shadows gathering, curving toward them once more. And then the water beneath began to bubble. With heart-stopping intensity, Nate strained against the current, his body reacting with instinctual panic. The swirling water whirled ominously, tendrils of fear wrapping around him. Shadows slithered closer, whispering dread as if they had their own purpose, their own hunger. Nate, we need to move. The soldier's voice was sharp, cutting through the fog of fear. He pulled Nate along the bank, their feet slipping in the mud. Just beyond the tree line, darkness dwelled like a living entity, each branch casting sinister shapes that swayed and twisted in the faint light. There was something in the water. Nate gasped, breath staggered. That creature, it's still out there. His mind raced back to the eyes that had held a cruel intelligence, a primal urge that felt untraceable and ancient. We can't let it catch us. No matter what. The soldier's desperation was piercing. He scanned the dim surroundings, searching for any path, any chance of escape. As they dashed into the trees, a gut-wrenching roar echoed behind them, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The air buzzed with energy, an almost palpable fear settling in as something massive thrashed through the water, no doubt hot on their heels. Nate stumbled, feeling the cool mud sucking at his legs. He turned briefly, squinting into the dark. The glow from the locket pulsed like a heartbeat in the background, flickering ominously. It was glowing stronger, as if it possessed the power to banish the shadows once more or invite a calamity even worse. Nate, focus! The soldier shouted, jerking him back to the moment. What's with that locket? It's like it's alive. I don't know. Nate's chest tightened. But whatever it is, it's south tied to this place. Panic drummed in his temples as the roar faded, replaced with an unsettling silence that blanketed the forest. They pressed forward, the dense thicket closing in. Each snapped twig was like a gunshot in the stillness, every breath felt like a countdown to something lurking behind them. Time stretched unnaturally, making each step feel like a leap into an unknown void. Suddenly, a flicker of motion caught Nate's eye. He turned sharply, heart racing. Two glowing eyes stared at them from the shadows. The creature was back, its form twisted and grotesque as it emerged slowly, an ancient horror making its debut from the dark veil. "Run!" the soldier yelled, their feet pounding against the uneven ground. Nate's mind was a whirlpool of frantic thoughts. If the locket was the key, then maybe it had a purpose beyond what they could understand. Maybe it wants the locket. Nate shouted, his voice raw with fear. "Then we need to use it." The soldier replied fiercely. "But how?" "Just tossing it in the water isn't enough." With every step, they could feel the creature gaining ground, thrashing wildly. Nate's thoughts were scattered, fear shaping them into frantic plans. Could they harness the locket's glow to push it back or to reveal something hiding in the fog of fear? They veered to the left, sliding through the brush, breath hitching. The creature lunged angrily, narrowly missing them, a rush of blackness that enveloped nearby trees. Nate's chest tightened, his instincts screaming. "No! This has to work!" He yelled, clutching the locket tightly, feeling its warmth through the coolness of fear encasing him. As if sensing their defiance, the shadows thickened, darkening the very air around them. The earth shook slightly under the immense weight of dread looming close. "Now!" Nate screamed, raising the locket towards the monstrous form. The creature halted, its eyes narrowing, recognizing the challenge. Did it know what was happening? Or was this just the frantic, desperate fantasy spiraling out of control? All around them, whispers wove through the trees, a cacophony of anguished voices that flared and faded. What did they want? What would happen if Nate unleashed the locket's power? With a deep breath, he readied himself, the heavy currents of fear and hope swirling in his chest. Would this be their salvation or their doom? And then, with a surge of profound determination, he shouted, "This ends now." The locket blazed defiantly in the night, casting blinding light that pierced through shadow, sending ripples in all directions. The shadows hissed, retreating, but not far enough, not yet. What would be born from this confrontation? What truths would reveal themselves in the light of their last stand? The light from the locket cut through the darkness like a sword, revealing the creature in all its grotesque horror. Nate's heart raced as the army of shadows writhed around the beast, their whispers rising to a fever pitch. The creature paused, its twisted features caught in the glow. Its eyes, blacker than midnight, burned with an unsettling blend of fury and fear. "Keep it steady!" the soldier shouted, urging Nate to hold the locket high. Nate's fingers trembled around the slim, metal object. It felt somehow both hot and electric against his skin. The glow flickered, solidifying with each heartbeat, as if reacting to his panic. "Why aren't they fleeing?" he yelled, glancing at the soldier. "It should be afraid. Maybe it feeds on fear. We need to show it we're not afraid." The soldier's voice held an edge of authority, but Nate could see the same fear lining his eyes. A low growl rumbled from the creature, shaking the very ground beneath them. It began to advance slowly, stalking forward with finesse, as though relishing the fear emanating from Nate and the soldier. The closer it got, the more the light flickered and sputtered, shadows creeping back into Nate's vision like a dense fog he couldn't shake. "Focus. Think of something strong," the soldier urged, his breath quickening. Nate closed his eyes, trying to remember moments that brought him strength. His mother's laughter, the bond of friendship with his best buddy. But those memories felt distant, overshadowed by the chilling presence bearing down on them. I can't," he gasped, terror gripping him. "Use the locket like a weapon," the soldier yelled, desperation spilling through his words. "Let it guide you." Taking a deep breath, Nate squeezed his eyes shut and envisioned the light from the locket as a beacon, not just illuminating the creature but something deeper, pushing away the very essence of darkness that clung to him. The whispers intensified, a deafening chorus that could twist the bravest heart. "This ends now," he roared, and with newfound resolve, he thrust the locket straight toward the beast. An explosion of light erupted, spreading like wildfire across the clearing. The shadows recoiled violently, merging into one, and the creature's hideous howl pierced the night. Nate felt an unfamiliar warmth wash over him, flooding him with courage he thought long gone, but as the brightness swelled, its brilliance also began to reveal disquieting truths hidden within the light. Shapes materialized, ghostly figures, their faces twisted in anguish, eyes void of hope. They were trapped, their essence swirling within the fog around the creature, feeding its monstrous form. "No! No!" Nate whispered as the realization hit him like a sledgehammer. "They're not just shadows, they're the victims. This creature, it's feeding off their fear, their agony." An answering roar from the creature echoed through the night. The shadows began to stretch forth, attempting to reclaim Nate and the soldier, as if they were living tendrils trying to drag them back into the abyss. "Fight it. Don't let it take over," the soldier shouted, placing a hand on Nate's shoulder, grounding him in the moment. Nate's pulse raced even faster, but trapped in the creature's spell, he could almost feel the souls grasping at him, whispering in anguish. Watching the screams in the glow, Nate's resolve hardened. They had to set them free. "We can't give in." He focused all his energy into the locket, willed it to grow even brighter, but as the locket intensified, the dark mass of the creature grew larger, tension crackling in the air. Whispers twisted into a chant, weaving a sinister note that rang in their ears. Nate's mind teetered between hope and despair. Would the locket break the cycle, or would it only add to the misery? Just outside the edge of their fight, he could feel the incline tilting dangerously toward impossible. "Together!" Nate yelled, determination roaring through him. "Together we can break this." As he squeezed the soldier's hand, both their spirits intertwining, they summoned every ounce of courage. Into the blinding light. But suddenly, the locket pulsed too hard, the force of it staggering, throwing them both off balance. In that moment of vulnerability, the darkness surged. Did they stand a chance against such relentless evil? Would the locket's power be their salvation or their undoing? A sharp crack echoed above, and the shadows briefly parted, revealing a glimpse of something unknown lurking just beyond. What awaited beyond the veil? The moment of weakness hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and foreboding. Nate stumbled back as the darkness surged, swallowing the light from the locket in a grotesque wave. Panic lanced through him as he fought against the pull, the whispers clawing at his sanity. "Don't let it take you!" he screamed, but the shadows writhed and twisted, their chilling embrace tightening around him. The soldier, caught beside him, struggled fiercely, a look of desperation etched across his face. "We can't lose. Focus. Remember why we fight." The words barely reached Nate, drowned in a tide of shadows that threatened to ensnare his very soul. Nate's mind raced, memories fighting for dominance. He thought of his family, his brother's goofy smile, his father's strong hands lifting him high on summer days. He remembered the promise he made to his friends during their last camping trip, "I'll always have your back." But all that felt so far away, like distant fireworks fading into the night sky. The creature's growl came low and menacing, drawing closer. "It craves your fear, Nate," the soldier shouted. "You must rise above it." With a deep, shuddering breath, Nate forced his eyes back open, the locket still flickering weakly in his grip. He felt the surge of raw emotion swell inside him: anger, frustration, but most of all, a fierce determination to fight against the darkness. He wasn't alone, they were in this together. "Think. We have to save them," he yelled, channeling every ounce of fight he had into the locket. All those souls, trapped and tormented. The locket began to pulse again, responding to his courage, the light flickering with renewed intensity. He felt the warmth expand, pushing against the shadows that clawed at him. The whispered cries of the victims amid the beast's grip filled his ears, They implored him for release, summoning strength from deep within. Nate closed his eyes once more. He saw vivid images of the captured souls, their faces twisted in desperation. "I want to let you suffer," he cried, thrusting the locket toward the depths of shadow. "You're free. Take back your power." Suddenly, the locket exploded with radiant light, piercing through the darkness like a bolt of lightning. The creature howled in rage, its form trembling as tendrils of shadows recoiled. The victims' faces flickered in and out, their cries growing louder and pleading. Nate opened his eyes, and in the heart of the blinding light, he saw the first soul break free, her ethereal figure shimmering as she ascended. "Thank you," she cried out, her voice ringing clear and bright, bringing a flicker of hope to Nate's heart. But the creature wasn't finished. It roared with an intensity that sent vibrations through the ground, sending a wave of darkness crashing toward them. Nate gritted his teeth, the locket straining against the waves of shadow. He could see the soldier staggering, caught in the maelstrom of fear and despair. Just when it seemed everything would be lost, a shadowy form detached itself from the creature's mass, a hulking figure, twisted and warped, seemingly fueled by rage. "You think you can free them? You're nothing," it snarled, its voice dripping with malice. Nate's heart sank. They had awakened something even darker, a manifestation of the creature's essence. "We have to face it," he shouted, though doubt crept in, whispering that the leap they needed to take was terrifying. The locket pulsed wildly in response, as if echoing his turmoil. He glanced at the soldier, who caught his eye and nodded. "We're in this together," came the soldier's resolute voice, elevating Nate's spirit even as the darkness encroached. But the new threat loomed before them, a menacing grin carved into its shadowy visage, waiting for them to falter. What more secrets lay hidden within the depths of this darkness, and at what cost would they uncover the truth? Nate's heart raced as the monstrous shadow loomed closer, a tangible entity of malice and rage. Its twisted form was grotesque, a physical embodiment of everything they feared. But at that moment, Nate felt a surge of defiance. This was not just a fight for survival, this was a battle for the souls trapped within the creature's darkness. "Together!" he shouted, gripping the locket tightly. It pulsed in his hand like a living heartbeat, igniting the flickering flame of courage deep within him. He stood his ground, feeling the soldier beside him sense the shift, their determination melding into a single focused force. With the sparks of hope crackling in the air, Nate thrust the locket forward. A brilliant beam shot out, breaking through the swirling shadows. "You want to take us," he yelled. The light felt powerful, a promise that reminded him of all the lives worth fighting for. "Keep pushing. We can do this." The soldier echoed, his voice strong and resolute, molding the air around them, filling it with fierce defiance. The shadow snarled, lunging forward, but the light pushed it back. It shrieked in pain, its essence rippling with fury. It clawed at the flickering illumination, darkness attempting to engulf the glow, but Nate held firm, refusing to submit to despair any longer. As that light grew, Nate could see the shadows twisting and writhing, the essence of lost souls swirling around him. The faces of the tortured emerged, longing for release. "You have the power to break the bonds," one of them cried out, the plea echoing with both urgency and belief. "Follow my lead," Nate shouted, channeling every ounce of strength into the locket. "It's time for you to be free." With those words, the light intensified, washing over the creature. The shadow shrieked, contorting as the beam struck deep. The wretched face of the creature froze in an expression of pure unyielding terror. It felt the bonds of fear slipping away. "Release them. You don't have to keep feeding on their pain," Nate urged, feeling the locket vibrate with energy, resonating with the souls around him. Powerful influences of hope and compassion surged toward the gathered souls, intertwining with their cries. "Let us go. We deserve peace." The once lost voices swelled to a crescendo, their resonance intertwining beautifully with the light Nate wielded. With blinding brilliance, the glow circled around them, consuming the shadows in a cathartic wave. And then it hit, the realization struck clear as crystal. You can let go, and so can we. Nate shouted, pouring his heart into his words. Together, we can break this curse. Suddenly, a bright pulse erupted from the locket, releasing a torrential surge of light that enveloped them all, banishing the darkness that had twisted and clawed for so long. The soldier stood by his side, face illuminated in the radiant glow, a symbol of the allyship needed to conquer the unfathomable. The booming anguish of the creature crescendoed as the light hit it head-on, and Nate could feel the world adjusting, reality rippling as the shadows shattered into 1,000 pieces. They heard the desperate cries transform into laughter, into cheers. Chains that bound the tortured souls dissolved, releasing a rush of ghostly figures into the night sky. With one final rage-filled roar, the creature crumbled, reducing into nothing but shadows that dissipated in the wind, a shattered legacy of agony and fear. As the air cleared, Nate gasped for breath, the weight that had pressed so heavily on his shoulders evaporating. Is it over? The soldier asked, looking bewildered yet relieved, his voice steady now without the haunting echoes of fear. Nate nodded, tears of relief stinging his eyes. I think we did it. The woods, once a dark prison, felt alive again, the moonlight breaking through and illuminating the trees. The survivors, those freed souls, swirled around them, whispers of thanks echoing through the air like a gentle breeze. Nate felt a lightness in his heart, a warmth that replaced the cold grip of fear. As dawn broke, colors washed over the sky, painting a beautiful canvas. Together, Nate and the soldier stepped forward, no longer fleeing from darkness but embracing the promise of a new beginning. They had chosen courage over fear, connection over isolation, and in doing so, they reclaimed not just their lives but the lives of many others. Thank you, Nate, the soldier said, his voice laced with gratitude. You showed real bravery tonight. What's next for us? Nate asked, glancing back at the remnants of the night and then toward the hopeful horizon. The soldier smiled, genuine and bright. Now we live. We tell their stories, honor their fight, and keep the darkness at bay together. With a small, resolute nod, they began to walk away from the past toward a brighter future. The woods felt different now, alive, full of potential, and silent with the weight of history, a chapter closed and a new one waiting to be written. As they stepped into the light of day, Nate felt a promise in his heart: no more shadows would bind them. This was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now if you haven't already. This is the moment to show your support for more amazing stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. Did you expect it to end this way? Your voice matters. And make sure to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible finale. Don't wait even one more second to share. Let us spread the journey together.